side lying hip car variation. So ideally, yoga block or kettlebell, like so, all right, to anchor the upper body in place. Remember, when you're doing your side lying hip car, the get out is often rotation through the torso. All right, so try and keep this stuff facing straight across the room. Good idea can be to film yourself do this, okay, because a lot of people tend to get quite stuck here. Also, again, at the hip, less is more. All right, so pull up into flexion. As you pull, remember with your cars, I want you pulling through the closing angle tissue. So I'm not just thinking knee, A to B, I'm thinking pull through the front of the hip. I want you to be inefficient. Squeeze the knee towards the floor, so get a bit of adduction at the hip. Okay? From here now, you can start to push the foot into the floor a bit to tease out a little bit of tension into external rotation. Then you start to open up the hip, and try not to do what I did and pull here with the ankle. Pull with the hip. Pull with the hip. When you hit that wall here, you might start to feel this now. If you've anchored this in place strong, you might start to feel this pulling through here a little bit more, right? It feels like the load dissipates on the hip. Keep the load here. You can do this at this tempo to start with if you want. Now I'm going to think of internally rotating, right? So it's like the foot here is going to levitate, and I start to pull here. Pulling at the hip ideally, but if you want to think of the knee as a reference to begin with, is it pulling under the foot? Do it. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Now you start to get that adduction, pulling down towards the resting knee. 1 rep. Okay? Remember, this shape here, lower back often wants to get involved to get me here. Alright? Nothing wrong with that. Globally, global movement. What a lot of people find is they run out of room at the hip. They overuse this. Now as you start to open up the hip, think foot towards the ceiling. That's loaded this stuff, right? Now start to pull from the hip. Pull from the hip and keep that for as long as you can till I'm like, oh, flipping heck, I've run out of room. You'll probably find then it starts to pull towards the floor anyway. And you almost try and hold that shape as you open up the hip. Oh my word. Now you've fully loaded this stuff. Try and tease a little bit more flexion possibly. Keep pulling, keep pulling. So I'm trying to keep the knee away from the floor. So pull flexion. Now I'm going to pull through the inside of my hip. Pull through the inside of the hip. Don't just think A to B. Pull from the inside of the hip. Oh, that feels good. Keep pulling, keep pulling, keep pulling. Now we flip the script, right? You're going to want to go here with the pelvis. Try not to and squeeze through the inside of the hip as much as you can get. If you can get the floor, great. Keep squeezing. Foot squeeze into the floor. Beautiful. Sideline hip car. If you want something here, yeah, be my guest. Put a pillow in for sure, unless you want to chase a neck pump. Sideline hip car. Sweet.